Hello people, it's me, Samugi, and we're on the third part of our entire codex review of Tyranid unit and how to play them competitively. Alright, so in this episode we're going to talk about elite units. So let's start. Tyrant Guards. Alright, Tyrant Guard, unlike its cousin, which is Hive Guard, which is brought up all the time, no one seems to talk about Tyrant Guard whatsoever. Like, for some reason, even though they are practically made from the same kit, but no one ever talk about Tyrant Guard. Is it because they're bad? Not necessarily. The Tyrant Guard is not bad. There's actually ways to use them, but they just don't see the light of day because the thing they trying to protect are not used very often. Okay, so let's explain Tyrant Guards a bit. Okay, Tyrant Guard is a toughness 5 3+ armor unit with 3 wound per model. Okay, it's a pretty tough unit and it can take Crushing Claws, which is pretty rare. Most Tyranid unit don't get access to Crushing Claw unless you're a Carnifex. Even though in Dawn of War 2 the fucking Hive Tyrant can take Crushing Claw, but not in the game for some reason. But anyways, Tyrant Guard is able to take Crushing Claws, which is a strength 10 attack, but -1 to hit, but that doesn't really matter because it has a weapon skill of a 3+. So even with Crushing Claws modifier, it will still hit on force. So which is pretty neat, and each model gets 3 attack. So Tyrant Guard in itself is not bad. If you want to have like a non-Carnifex tank king opener, then you can use Tyrant Guard. Now, since they're good, let's talk about the reason why nobody used them. Alright? Tyrant Guard's main appeal is perhaps it's able to block damage dealt to Hive Tyrants. Okay? And do realize that Hive Tyrants, okay, it says it right here, it's not Hive Tyrant the unit, it's Hive Tyrant the keyword. Which means Swarmlord can also benefit from this, because Swarmlord also has Hive Tyrant keyword. So you can effectively use Tyrant Guard to guard your Swarmlord, but Swarmlord is already in itself very expensive, and spending even more point to protect it, it seems kind of, yeah, it's counterproductive. This is like, there's no point to do that. But let's explain how we use Tyrant Guard efficiently. Let's start from there, okay? There's actually one way to use them. You take Leviathan, alright? You take Leviathan Fleet, alright? You put a walking Hive Tyrant or a Swarmlord together with a group of Tyrant Guard, maybe a group of 6. Don't give them a lot of weapon upgrades, just keep them cheap. Don't give them Crushing Claws because their job is to absorb the hit, alright? So you take Leviathan. Leviathan has as long as you're within 6 inch of a synapse creature, you get 6+ feel no pain, and if you have Catalyst, Catalyst will override and it will become 5+. So yeah, it's not a good high fleet rule, not at all. But if you really want to use Tyrant Guard for some reason, then Leviathan is probably the only way to go. Now, most people think about, why don't we just give it Crushing Claw and put it in Kraken and let it just run wild, you know, like a 7-inch movement is not exactly so slow anyway. No, it's exactly the same as Carnifex, and it's not as expensive. It's actually slightly cheaper than Hive Guard. Well, more expensive if you take Crushing Claw, but without Crushing Claw, it's slightly cheaper. So why not just give it Crushing Claw, let it run wild, and maybe we can use something like, maybe we can use Opportunity Advance, and in conjunction with Onslaught, which allow them to advance and charge, just like Genestealer. Why don't we try to do that? Like, we certainly can. But there's better unit to do that with, you know, like Genestealer's Carnifex. You can just do all that. Why take Tyrant Guard if your whole point is to use as Crushing Claw, when Carnifex can have it better and cheaper too, right? Carnifex Crushing Claw, mind you, is strength 12. It's not strength 10. So yeah, anyways. So back to the Leviathan strategy. So you take Tyrant Guard with walking Hive Tyrants or Swarmlord, alright? Now, when, let's say a last cannon hits the Hive Tyrants, alright? Last cannon hits Hive Tyrant, he rolls the hit, he rolls the wound, and then let's say you roll your invulnerable save, which is 2, you fail invulnerable save, and now you roll for your feel no pain because you have Catalyst cast on yourself. Let's say the Catalyst also fails, alright? Let's say your feel no pain fails, then that wound gets transferred into Tyrant Guard. Now, here's the interesting part. When that mortal wound transferred to Tyrant Guard, normally speaking, they cannot grow any saves for it. Well, I mean, for starters, they do not have a vulnerable save, and since it's a mortal wound, their armor save won't help either, unless they have a feel no pain save, which is what Leviathan provides. The Leviathan provides them a 6+ feel no pain. So if that wound get past all the Hive Tyrant saves, including feel no pain, they get to do that again with the Feel No Pain. So let's make another scenario, right? Let's say last can hit Hive Tyrant. It's a d6 damage, right? Let's say 3 damage hits. 3 of the damage hits the Hive Tyrants. You know, it pass all the. Let's say, okay, let's start passing. It's a vulnerable save. Let's say he failed 1, so he failed 2. So like, there's still 2 wounds right here. The 2 wounds now get passed to the Tyrant Guard. Now the Tyrant Guard roll Feel No Pain again, and if they fail both, then they take 2 more wounds. But if they make 1, I almost made a middle finger there. If they make 1, then they only take 1 mortal wound instead. So it's like layers of protection to prevent that Hive Tyrant from dying. And this is probably more useful on Swarmlord because Swarmlord is pretty famous for not being able to survive that long for its point cost. But then, like I said at the very beginning, spending even more point to protect it is kind of counterproductive. But if you really want to have the Hive Commander ability to use more than once per game, then I guess Tyrant Guard is a solid way to do it. Or you can use it on the Walking Hive Tyrant with Venom Cannon. Alright, Venom Cannon with Heightened Sense Warlord trait, which allows you to ignore any penalty. And I'm looking at you, Eldari Flyer. So ignore any sort of minus hit modifier. You get to hit your Venom Cannon without any sort of modifier bogging you down. And then you have Tyrant Guards surrounding you to prevent you take any sort of serious damage. And even if the enemy tries to shoot at you, if the attack has no AP or low AP, then you can use your armor save and then use your Feel No Pain. If usually attack has very high AP, like AP 3 or 4, then you use your invulnerable save of a 4+. If that still fails, you still get Feel No Pain from the Hive Tyrants. And if that fails, you get to transfer the damage into the Tyrant Guard, because Tyrant Guard with Leviathan Hive Fleet adaptation allows them to have a 6+ Feel No Pain, as long as they're within 6 inches of a Synapse creature, which they definitely are, because they're sticking together with the Hive Tyrants, which provides Synapse. So that's one way to use Tyrant Guard, and the other way is, like I said, just give them Crushing Claw and just like fucking Kraken it, you know? Kraken, let them charge forward, advance 3d6, cast Onslaught on them, allow them to assault after advancing. You know, like you can try to do that. That's 2 ways to use Tyrant Guard. But the reason why no one's using that is because they are a bit expensive. I mean, that is true, which is pretty fair. They are very expensive for what they do, for a Crushing Claw, for anti-tank. They do get access to Rending Claw and Lash Whip and Bone Sword, but it's not helping a lot, you know? Like, we don't need more of these warrior-type units that doesn't move as fast as Gene Stealers or Hormigons, but doesn't hit as hard as Carnifex. You know, like we don't need more unit that's in between. Like we got enough of that. We don't need that, you know. We want a unit to be dedicated into anti-infantry or dedicated into anti-tank. We don't need something in between. So that's why Tyrant Guards is not seeing a lot of uses. That's, you know, that's my view on it. But if you do give it like an adrenal glands, let it advance like 1 inch faster, I guess that sort of helps. Oh, and also when when your Hive Tyrant dies, okay, it doesn't have to be just like one Hive Tyrant. It says if a friendly Hive Tyrant is killed within 6 inches of the unit, from the end of that turn, increase the attack characteristic of each model in this unit by 1 for the rest of the battle. Which means if 2 Hive Tyrant dies, you get +2 attacks. Right, it's cumulative. You can do that, but if you lose Hive Tyrants in one game, then you pretty much lost the battle already. I'll just be honest with you. Now, I guess the final question people will ask about Hive Tyrant is, why wouldn't this work on flying Hive Tyrant, the winged Hive Tyrant, aka the Flyrant? Why I didn't mention it is because Flyrant, if you take Flyrant, if you pay point for its mobility, which got nerfed, well, it's nerfed because the point got increased, but yeah, it sounds like it got point reduction. No, it got nerfed because the point got increased. The wing, if you already are paying for the wing, why are you just gonna stick together with the 7-inch movement Tyrant Guard? Why not just fly over there, dish out your Quad Devourer against the enemy Guardsman or Guardian, right? And then just cast Psychic Ability and smite whatever you want. Why stay with a group of Tyrant Guard in the back if you already pay for mobility? Just make it a Walkrant. Don't make it a Flyrant. There's no point, right? All right, let's talk about Hive Guard. This one's gonna be fast. Now, Hive Guard, okay, it has 3+ Blizzard skill. It has sort of good survivability. It's kind of more to resistance because Imperial Guard, if they take Brigade Detachment, they will most certainly take Mortar Heavy Weapon Squad. Now, Mortar, it's a straight 4 AP nothing 1 damage kind of deal, but there's gonna be a lot of Mortar because each Mortar is going to be like 5 point, right? It's very cheap, so Mortar can shoot target that is not visible to them. And the same thing is here over in Tyranid land. With Hive Guard, we can shoot without line of sight. Now, the reason why Hive Guard is like the most recommended unit, I would even say it's mandatory. Yeah, that's right, it's mandatory. I would even say it's mandatory is because this is one of the few ways, the reliable ways for Tyranid, without allying anything, without allying Genestealer codes, without allying Imperial Guard. Like Hive Guard is the only way within this codex to effectively deal damage to toughness 7 and toughness 8 tanks or monstrous creature. It is. It's the only way to do it. I'm talking about, of course, the Impaler Cannon. Now, the Impaler Cannon, it's a heavy too, so for a full unit of a 6 model, you basically shoot 12 shots of Blizzard skill of 3, and then it's a strength 8 AP2, damage of a D3. Also, no cover save can be taken from this, but most of the time the tank you're trying to shoot don't get cover anyway because they're so big, they're not in the rooms anyway, so this is kind of whatever. This type of weapon is also pretty good versus Devastator Squad sitting in the rooms. Devastator Squad, they already have 3+ armor save. Sitting in rooms basically make them 2+ armor save. If you're trying to use like Hive Tyrant with quad devours to kill Devastator Squad, you're gonna have a real hard time because 2+ armor save is no joke, man. It is no joke. And usually the Devastator Squad will have like a sergeant, alright, and you have 4 weapon dude, and then usually the Marine player bring like maybe 1 to 2 extra Marine bodies to soak up the shot, so they don't lose so much firepower when one of the dude dies. So yeah, they can do that. But with Hive Guards, alright, using Hive Guard to shoot at the Devastator Marine is actually not a bad idea. I mean, obviously, given there is no other tank on the field, there's no other better target, then of course, shoot at them first. If there's nothing like that, you can try to shoot at the Devastator Squad that's sitting in the back. And same thing goes for Dark Reaper. Elder Dark Reaper, you can shoot at them, they get no cover save, you don't even need line of sight. Same thing goes for them. However, this weapon does have its weakness. As powerful as it gets, it's only range 36. 36 range, it's not bad, alright? It's actually, as a matter of fact, since we're Tyranids, we're not allowed to have like 48 or 72 inch type of weapon. Like, I mean, there is weapon like that, but it's not very common. But, we kind of just have to take that. 36 inches cause a problem of not being able to hit in turn 1 sometimes. Let's say if you're playing on their hammer and anvil type, both players goes to like the shorter edge of the table, you go there. If you're playing against like Imperial Guard or like Tau, they're gonna deploy their shit all the way back. So in the turn 1, even if you deploy Hive Guard at the very edge of your deployment zone, and that's assuming there's something blocking line of sight, because if you don't, they're gonna get killed like right that. They're gonna die super fast. So deploying them, you still have to have a complete line of sight blocking terrain. You have to do that, otherwise they die really fast. Assuming even that thing exists, 36 inches is probably still not enough to reach like the very back row. We're talking about like Lehman Ross tank commander with battle cannon, which is 72 inches. They can sit in the back all day, all night, and you won't be able to hit them. So what do? Assuming you go first, which you wouldn't, because Tyranid usually goes second. Assuming you go first, what you can do is cast Onslaught on Hive Guards. Now, Onslaught allows you to move and shoot your weapon, your heavy weapon, without suffering a penalty. So you can cast, use the Neurothrope, obviously. Use the Neurothrope that's accompany the Hive Guards. Cast Onslaught, make them move 5 inches. Now your threat range suddenly becomes from 36 inches to 39 inches, which is a little bit more like 40 inches. That 5 extra inches of movement might actually make the difference between hitting the target or not hitting the target. That's gonna matter. So do remember, if you're having a Neurothrope accompany the group of Hive Guard, always give that Neurothrope at least 1 Onslaught psychic power. Give it Onslaught. It's gonna be useful. Onslaught is not dedicated to melee unit. It's actually pretty useful for Hive Guard as well, because if they move and shoot their heavy weapon, I mean, sure they can move and shoot their heavy weapon. There's no, you can still do that. But it will hit on 4 and not 3, and we don't want that to happen. We want to hit with 3+ ballistic skill, right? So cast Onslaught. It's gonna be worth it. And if Onslaught is not available, let's say you want to cast Onslaught on something else, maybe like a group of Hormigons, then so be it. You know what? Whatever. Just shoot with full ballistic skill. It's not end of the world. Alright? This is the problem with most people playing Hive Guard. They don't want to move it. They don't want to move an inch because they feel like if they move, they defeat the purpose of bringing Hive Guard in the first place, which is sitting and shoot, right? Which is great. You know, like, if you're able to sit and shoot, that's awesome. No one's saying that's not great. But if you're not in range of anything, that's a good target for the Imperial Cannon, then you're not doing... You're not getting your point back either. So just move them, alright? Even if it means you have to move them out in the open, you still have to, because offensive capability comes first compared to defensive capability. Let's say you move your Hive Guard out in the open and you shoot the enemy. Alright, what's next? The enemy is trying to shoot your Hive Guard. Well, chop chop. What are you gonna do, right? Because if you're not doing anything, then the enemy might as well just not hurt you at all, because you're not hurting them anyway. So, okay, enough of that. I think you guys get the point. Just move your Hive Guard if you really have to. Cast Onslaught on them if you really want to have them to hit on 3+. You can. You certainly can. Alright? Now, I'm not done with Hive Guard yet. Alright? I'm not done with Hive Guard. How many models and units do you take for Hive Guards? Now, when I go to Tyranid group or Tyranid forms, people just keep saying, bring Hive Guards, but again, once again, like Gene Stealers, they never tell you how many Hive Guards do you want to bring. Do I bring like just 6 model of a unit, or do I bring 3 and 3, or do I bring 18? Like, there is no number. Here's my answer for that. All right, for a regular balanced list, let's say you want to play Kraken Chronos, you want to have something on Kraken. You have some Gene Stealers, Carnifex, Hormigons and Flyrins, all that good juicy shit. If you want to take the balanced one, if you want to have Kraken and Chronos at the same time, you're most likely only have to choose between maybe a squad of 6 or 2 squad of 6. 2 squad of 6 is very unlikely. If you're playing Carnifex in the Kraken detachment, it's very unlikely you still have the point for 2 squad of Hive Guards. Of course, I'm talking about 2k point game right now. All my videos are about 2k point because that's the most common point level at the moment, aside from 1750. It's very hard to take 2 squad of Hive Guards and still have something in the front. Alright? Now, Hive Guard is not a unit that the more you spam, the better it gets. No, it's not. It's actually quite opposite. The reason why Hive Guard is good is because you can use this Tyranid stratagem called Single-Minded Annihilation, which allows a unit at the end of the shooting phase, an infantry unit, to shoot again at the end of the shooting phase. So Hive Guard with his heavy 2 weapon, they can get to shoot again at the end of the phase. That's great. 12 shots suddenly becomes 24 shot. You're most certainly gonna kill a predator, or at least put a hurt on that knight. You certainly can with the Single-Minded Annihilation stratagem. That's the reason why people bring Hive Guard. Now, if you have more than 1 squad of Hive Guards, let's say you have 2 unit of 6, you can only use single-minded once anyway. You cannot use both. It's every stratagem, unless otherwise specified, can only use once per phase. Okay, and this is end of the shooting phase. All right, so in this shooting phase, you can only use once anyway. So what's the point of bringing the second squad of Hive Guard if you cannot use single-minded annihilation on them? There's no point. Or you could say there is a point, because having 2 squad basically means you can shoot 3 times. You know, twice from the squad that used single-minded annihilation and once from the squad that did not benefit from the stratagem. So you can say I shoot 3 times. My local meta has a lot of knights, Bane Blades, Lehman Russ battle tanks, tank commanders, Tau 104s, like all those shit crazy unit. I really need that extra punch. Then go ahead, bring the second squad of Hive Guards. Do it. Like, go ahead, just do it. But if you're talking about like a balanced Tyranid list, 1 squad is more than enough. 1 squad of 6. All right, 1 squad of 6. And once again, obviously, elephant in the room. How many models do you bring for each unit? The answer is obvious. Just bring 6. You have to bring complete 6. Don't spread them 3-3, because like I said, the single-minded annihilation only affects one unit. Spreading them apart will divide the strategy's effectiveness by half. So don't do that. Just put them in one single squad of 6. You'll be golden. So that's the Hive Guard with Impaler Cannon. Okay, this is not going to be fast because I still have Shock Cannon to talk about. Shock Cannon, alright. Impaler Cannon is great. It can shoot without line of sight and it deals decent damage to tanks. But let's talk about Shock Cannon. Alright, Shock Cannon is not a deal. It's 24 inches. It's even shorter, but it's a Assault D3, which surprisingly, on average, it's two shot, just like Impaler Cannon. It's strength 7, AP 1, and it's damage D3. So it has 1 less strength and AP. It has less range, and it also deals D3 shots. Alright, but here's the kick. If you're using this to target a vehicle, every wound roll of a 4+, you deal 1 mortal wound. And if you roll 6, you get D3 mortal wounds. So what does that mean? What kind of vehicle that benefit a lot from invulnerable saves? Oh yeah, that's right. Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights benefit a lot from its invulnerable save with the fucking Iron Shield Warlord trait and the Rotate Iron Shield stratagem, which make them 3+ invulnerable save. Is really, really, really hard to kill with Impaler Cannon because 3+ invulnerable save is gonna negate that -2 AP from Impaler Cannon. Shock Cannon, on the other hand, alright, strength 7 attack. Let's say if you're attacking Knights, which is toughness 8, you will only wound on a 5+. Unfortunate, that's the case, right? But 5+ is also included in the 4+. So every wound you make when you target Knight, it will almost certainly become a mortal wound. And if you roll a 6, it becomes D3 mortal wound. Mortal wound cannot be negated by invulnerable saves. So this is why Shock Cannon comes into play. When it comes to like Knights, we're talking about just completely like if you really want a Knight to die, Impaler Cannon might not be the best choice because Knight can rotate Iron Shield, that's 3+ invulnerable save, they can just wave off your attack, no problem. But if you bring Shock Cannon Hive Guards, let's say you bring 6 of them, of course, obviously, again, same idea of the single-minded annihilation stratagem. What about this? You take your Magond, alright, you take your Magond, and you take a Ravener, which is 69 point, you take a minimum requirement Ravener, you use stratagem to deep the enemy below, which allows you to carry 1 infantry squad. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. Hive Guard is infantry. So okay, this is really bullshit. I'm just start acting like a dick. Hive Guards with Shock Cannon in combination of Ravener, they can deep strike. They don't have to deep strike like right next to the Knights. They don't have to. They just have to deep strike into a location where Knights. Where that Knight you want to target is literally the closest target available. Because if you're going to use Ravener to carry Hive Guard, you have to worry about instinct behavior, which, if you're not shooting the closest target, you'll get -1 to hit, so you don't want that to happen. So that's how you deep strike as close as possible. Actually, no, as far as possible, but you're still... The Knight is still the closest target for you, alright? Let's say you can put it on top of, like, a building, like a room, so you're impervious from any sort of melee attack because no one's gonna climb like 3-4 floor of rooms just to get your Hive Guards. No one's gonna do that. So you pop your Hive Guard there and your Ravener there, right? And you shoot at the Knight, and you use single-minded annihilation to shoot again. You'll cause a lot of mortal wound, and that tasty invulnerable save is not gonna help them. So that's one way to play the Shock Cannon Hive Guards. No, but at this moment, Impaler Cannon is still better. Impaler Cannon is still better at, general speaking, it's still better because this thing only works on vehicles. So that's it if you're facing Mortarion or Magnus Red or like fucking Gilman, this is not gonna work at all. You're not gonna deal any mortal wound if you're fighting anything that's not a vehicle. Okay? Anything that's not a vehicle, you're not gonna be able to deal that extra mortal wound. So just be very careful with this. Alright? Oh, and also because it's an assault weapon, which means you can freely move after you shoot. And of course, since you're gonna deep strike the Hive Guards, you're most definitely gonna stay in your Magond Hive Fleet, which means you don't have to worry about losing that extra chance to roll the hit rolls of 1 in Chronos. You can just move around and shoot with your assault weapon. This is actually pretty good in conjunction with like a warrior-themed army. Because warrior can be in the front with their Death Spitter and Venom Cannon. Death Spitter can deal with the bubble wrapping guardsman, while the heavy, not heavy, the venom cannon can deal with the maybe toughness 7-ish, toughness 8 tanks, while your shot cannon, which is assault, which means you can move and shoot, and your armor save becomes 3+ because you're Magont, and Venom Throw most likely to give you -1 to hit. You can use your shot cannon to effectively walk and shoot, and without losing anything vital. So here's that. That's Hive Guard. Damn, that's much longer than I thought. Anyways, okay, let's move on to Lecter and Death Leaper. I'm not gonna waste too much time on these two because there isn't just too much to talk about them. Like, they have a pretty scary profile, 9-inch movement, 2+ weapon skills, strength of a 6, like 3 attack. It's kind of like, like I don't want to talk about Lecter and Death Leaper so much because besides their nature of not being able to carry anything, even with your Magont and with the Phenomenal Trail, they're just like a one-man army. I guess I should say one-bug army. They can't do much. It's a chameleonic skin is fine, -1 to hit, and 2+ armor save from being in cover instead of just 1. It's all great, but why would you want to bring a Lecter? Like, would there, in a meta where any sort of shooty based army will almost certainly have bubble wrapping unit, having Lecter deep strike outside of that bubble means nothing. Like having that Lecter just deep strike outside the bubble just to kill like a 2 or 3 guardsmen, like what's the fucking point? There's no point to do that unless you can somehow deep strike the Lecter inside the bubble and kill the company commander that carries the relic and the warlord trait that allows him to regenerate the command points. Like maybe that'll work, but aside from that, it's not happening. It's just not happening. I'm sorry. Maybe if they allow Lecter to deep strike within, let's say, 6 inches or 5 or much shorter than that, because 9-inch deep strike is just way too long for them to just get into melee and do anything useful. So there's that. And the same deal with Death Leaper. I'm not gonna spend too much time here because I know you guys are all tired. Well, not really. I'm tired. All right, finally some interesting stuff. Zoanthropes. Now, Zoanthropes, I know a while ago there's a post about Zoanthrope of that guy was pretty neat. He calculated everything, the chances and the percentages of how much mortal wound he can deal with Zoanthrope groups. But then, like that's all good and stuff. I agree that Zoanthrope can be good, and I admire his dedication to explain how Zoanthrope is great, but my answer to all of that calculation is, well, you can only hit the closest target, which is Guardsman. So none of that really matters, alright? That's the problem with Zoanthrope now. It's the smite is great, alright? If you have 6 models in 1 unit, you get 3+ D3 mortal wounds with your smite, which is great. It's awesome. It's not bad, but you can only hit the closest target anyway, unless, of course, you take your Magont, alright? You take your Magont, and you take a Ravener, and yeah, you see where this is going. You basically take Ravener, your Magont, and the dedicated stratagem to carry 6 Zoanthrope behind the enemy lines and blast off with their smite. That's it. That's the only way you make it viable. Alright? Otherwise, if you're not gonna use your Magont, there is no way to transport them into deep enemy line unless you're gonna use Tyranid, which sucks and expensive. Then there's no point because your Zoanthrope is gonna move slowly from your board to your opponent's board, which is covered in Guardsmen and Fire Warriors. It's not gonna work. You're gonna smite a lot of Fire Warriors and Guardsmen and maybe Hormagaunts. You're not gonna be able to smite that Flyrants or 104 or Company Commander. You're not gonna be able to smite all that juicy stuff. You're just gonna smite what is coming towards you. Even if you're smiting against Imperial Knights, which are pretty vulnerable against mortal wounds because they have high vulnerable save, I still would recommend Zoanthrope as the main damage dealer. If you want to deal mortal wound against Imperial Knight, why not just go back to like 5 minutes ago? Why not just use Shock Cannon Hive Guards? Or maybe Biovores. You can use them. Why use Zoanthropes? Anyways, but Zoanthrope does have some redeeming quality. It's a 3+ invulnerable save, which is very rare nowadays, especially in the unit that every model only costs 40 points. which brings me to my next point. This thing is too expensive, alright? One model is 40 points. If you want to bring 6 metal, that's 240 points just to deal 3 plus D3 mortal wound. And don't forget that I said in, like, I think it was in HQ or it was in Troop, I can't remember. 240 point equals to 20 Gene Stealers, man. 20 Gene Stealers, 20 Gene Stealers and 3d3 mortal wounds. Which one do you choose? And the answer is fucking obvious, isn't it? It's like, it's the exact same point level, and I did a calculation with the Biovore too, and the Biovore actually deals only slightly less mortal wounds compared to Zoanthrope, but it's able to choose which target it wants to shoot at, which, Zoanthrope could not. The only way to make them viable, to make them smite whatever you really want, is to get a Ravener, get your Gun, and the exclusive stratagem, and just push them inside the deep in the enemy line, and then just smite away. You can do that. You know what? Even better. On top of that, add another squad of Termagon Bomb, or 30 Devourer wielding Termagons. And since Zoanthrope is next to them, they also get Synapse, so you don't have to worry about Synapse. And all of that just for 2 CP and 1 Ravener. How awesome is that? Anyways, okay, enough with the Zoanthropes. I think I made my point clear. They're not bad, okay? They're too expensive if you just want to have them moving slowly forward and pushing and smiting whatever is available to them. It's too expensive for that. But if you have a plan or a way to move them into places where you can smite the real target you want to smite at, then sure, it's great. It's not bad. It's 3 plus 1 safe. It's really hard to kill. I mean, what are you going to kill them with? Bolt gun? Right? It's like, it's not very effective. It's not a very effective way to kill them. So, Zoanthrope, they're tough. They're a good Synapse creature, but they're a bit expensive right now. So, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and don't forget about Neurothropes. Neurothrope allows them to reroll the psychic test of 1. So if you really want to bring Zoanthrope army, don't forget about Neurothrope. It's gonna help. Alright. Now, god damn it. Melceptor. Alright, Melceptor. Why do I say god damn it? It's because I love this model. I fucking love this model. The model has 2 sizing talents and it looks so fucking cool. Melceptor is what card effects should look like. Alright? It's like Ultralisk from Zerg. Okay, whatever, I'm just gonna stop there. Anyways, Melceptor. What's the problem? Why don't people bring Melceptor or bring out Melceptor whatsoever? Right? Like, why don't people do that? Let's check out this unit, alright? It's toughness 7, 12 wounds, and has 3 plus armor save, 4 plus invulnerable save. Does that ring a bell? Oh yeah, that's right. It's the exact same stat line as Hive Tyrants. Yes, it's the exact same stat line. Toughness 7, 12 wounds, 3 plus armor save, 4 plus invulnerable save. It's the exact same stat line. Alright? You have something that has the exact same stat line as a Hive Tyrant, which costs less than a Hive Tyrant, and it deals Psychic Barrage, I think it's Psychic Overload. It deals mortal wound, up to 6 units. Alright? And it has 7-inch movement. Why don't people take this? Why do people take Hive Tyrant, but not take this thing, which costs less and has the same stat, and maybe does more? Right? Okay, let's explore. Okay, first of all, let's point out the elephant in the room, or I should say the Melceptor in the room, because it's big. Sorry, just body shamed the Melceptor. Its massive sizing talent looks good on paper. It's a strength, supposedly strength 7. Okay, it has a degrading profile, but assuming we're talking about the top row, it has a strength 7, AP3, D6 damage, which is pretty much like a beefed up version of Plasma Gun. Alright? And you can reroll hit rolls of 1. But it only has the attack. It only has 3 attacks. All right, and it has a weapon skill of 4+. I mean, come on! It's that's the problem with Melceptor. It looks so fucking cool. It looks like it's gonna wreck shit up. All right, and its massive sizing talent is not bad. Like, the weapon stat is not bad. Strength 7, AP3. I can take that any day. Tearing up Chimera or Hellhound or Basilisk, I can do that all day. But it only has 3 attacks! Like, oh god, like, what? Anyways, the attacks, the lack of attack number is just really hurting this guy. So this guy's not designed to do anything as a melee unit, even though it does have the ability to defend itself. Like, let's say a fucking Dreadnought, which is not appearing on the current meta. The Dreadnought comes up, you still have the capability to fight back. with your massive size and talent. But then again, this is not the reason why you bring this model. The reason why you bring this model is because it has ability to Psychic Overload. So instead of manifesting Psychic powers, you can roll d6 for each unit surrounding you within 6 inches. This number is determined by the degrading profile, which of course we're talking about the top row right now. 6 unit, you can roll d6 for 6 unit, alright? For every 2+, you deal one mortal wound to that set target. And if you roll a 6, it deals 3 mortal wounds instead. I mean, pretty straightforward, right? Pretty straightforward. So, if you happen to walk into the range, mind you, it's 6 inch, right? 6 inch, and you have 6 unit to deal mortal wound with, alright? 2+, let's say they all succeed, you deal 6 mortal wound. Alright, big fucking deal. It's alright. It's just not that good. Okay, but however, I do want to say though that Mobotix, what you can do here is use the metabolic overdrive. Alright, use the metabolic overdrive on this unit, slingshot it across the battlefield, and then use the second overload on top of the enemy bubble, the bubble wrapping unit. Alright, but I think like Mobotix is still. The Psychic Overload ability is not even that great versus like bubble wrapping unit. It's probably better versus something like, let's see, like Terminators. That's right, Terminators or anything of that nature. You know, like they do have some sort of numbers. You know, there's a lot of unit of them, but you get to dish 1 mortal wound each. You can put a hurt on them, alright? And another reason why you want to bring Mobotix is because it has the same stat line as Hive Tyrants. It's pretty hard to kill. If you can cast Catalyst on Hive Tyrant, you can cast Catalyst on yourself. Like, I mean, you're able to cast ability or let someone else cast it for you, you know? Like another flying Hive Tyrant. I can't keep going with this model. It's just, you can see the bias here, right? I'm trying to make this model work, but it's not working. I'm trying my hardest. I really love this model. This model is so fucking amazing. It's currently 172 point, or 174. Oh yeah, let me check. Oh yeah, it is. It's 174 point for this model, weapons included, of course, because this weapon can't do jack shit. 174 point to bring a unit that has the same stat line for Hive Torrents. It's not bad. Okay, you know, you have a Hive Torrent to move forward. That's not bad. But the problem is that thing. Hive Tyrant is capable to do some damage against Guardsmen or like other chef unit, but like not for Mobotix. You can't. All right, Mobotix can't really do like significant amount of damage to make it justify for its cost, and let alone letting enemies shoot at him. There's no point shooting at this guy because, yeah, okay, boo-hoo, six mortal wound per turn. Like, good luck finding yourself surrounded with 6 different units that's within 6 inches of you. That's not gonna happen, alright? If enemy put up like a defense line like this, right, and then you're trying to charge forward like this, there's probably gonna be like 1 or 2 Guardsman squad here. You probably can deal like 3 mortal wounds per squad. I mean, good job, right? So, sorry, I tried my best. This is just not working, okay? My judgment on Mobotix right now is if it somehow does something else. Let's say if it's Psychic Overload ability, instead of hurting the enemy, if it's let's say instead of hurting 6 units that are surrounding him, what about giving 5+ invulnerable save? Or, okay, 5+ is too much. Maybe 6+ invulnerable save to friendly units. You know, you still roll a 2+. You know, on a 2+, that unit gets a 6+ invulnerable save. If you roll a 6, that unit gets 5+ invulnerable save. We need an invulnerable save providing machine. And what other unit better than Mobotix to do such a role? It makes sense in fluff-wise. It makes sense in game mechanic-wise. Instead of hurting people, dealing like 1 or 3 mortal wound, why not just provide invulnerable save? Okay, I spent way too much time on loving this unit, I'm sorry. Mobotix, great unit. Bring them all the time. Bring 3 of them. Bring 3 fucking Mobotix. I fucking... God damn it. Okay. Alright, let's move on to, like, last unit. Wait, actually, no. We still have 2 more. Ah, shit. There's even worse. There's even 1 unit that's worse than fucking Mobotix. Alright, let's go. Alright, Venom Throats, alright? Venom Throats. Venom Throat does have its... use, even though people keep saying that just take Melanthrope. But my idea here is Melanthrope is great. It's a character. It's a 9 wound character, which means it cannot be shot at. And it also provides the naps, and it also provides the Shrouding Spore ability, which Venom Throat provides. So yeah, people just say, just bring Melanthrope, man. Melanthrope is much better. But here's the thing, okay? Sometimes you want to save that HQ slot for something else. Like Hive Tyrants, you know, like O1I, like Neurothropes, you know. A funny fact, a funny fact about Melanthrope. Melanthrope is 140 point, which equals to 2 Neurothropes. But in Tyranid army building mindset, mindset. Usually you usually want to fill out the HQ choices as soon as you possibly can. All right, usually you do that because Tyranid usually take between 2 to 3 battalion detachment, which requires 6 HQ slots. All right, and we want to spend points on something else. We want to spend point on Carnifex. We want to spend point on Gene Stealers. If we take a Melanthrope here, sure, it's good. The model itself is nice, and you only need one of them. It's great, but the problem is you still have that many slots to fill, which you could just not take Melanthrope and take 2 Neurothrope instead. It costs exactly the same point, and it fills 2 slots instead of just 1. So why don't we just do that and take Venomthrope individually? Venomthrope does have its problems though. Like, it's not a character it can be shot at. It does not have a vulnerable save. It only has 5+ armor save, which means a single last cannon, or not even last cannon, but a fucking auto cannon can murder these guys no problem. But let's talk about what this thing does, okay? As long as you have one model, you can provide the -1 to hit buff to 6 inches of any high fleet unit that's not a monster. So if you have, let's say, even if you only have one model, you can still have the ability. But in order to cover monsters like Turnifax or Maleceptor, goddamn, I love that unit, and Exocrane, if you want to cover those kind of monsters creature, then you need to have at least 3 or more models in the unit. And if you have 6 models, you will extend the aura range from 6 inch to 9 inch. So yeah, that's fantastic, right? Venomthrope is not that expensive compared to Zoanthrope. Zoanthrope is 40 point per model. Venomthrope is 30 point per model. So if you want to take like the full 6 model of a unit, that's only 180 point. It's not too bad. 180 point, which is slightly more than Maleceptor, and it does more. God damn it. Anyways, all right, Venomthropes. How do you use them properly? Okay, so the problem with Venomthrope, okay, it's not actually that great to accompany the forward going units such as Gene Stealers and Hormigons. Okay, you can probably do it pretty well if you put it in Kraken Battalion, which, by the way, just remind you, Synapse and buffing capabilities such as Venomthrope Shouting Spores are not cross-fleet, which means a Kraken Venomthrope cannot provide shouting effect for a Kronos Hive Guard. It's not crossing. It has to be the exact same Hive Fleet, which is pretty gay. Same for our Synapse too. But anyway, so you provide Synapse for the corresponding Hive Fleet, right? So let's say if you put this thing in Kraken Detachment, all right, in first turn, since we're Tyranid, we have a lot of models and unit. We're most likely going second because we have much more models and unit, right? We must mostly go in second. If you have Venomthrope sitting next to your Gene Stealers and Hormigons, they can survive that much better against enemy shooting attack. You know, it's so much better. Have a -1 to hit on your Hormigons and your Gene Stealers, because since you're deployed that way anyway, everything's sitting in here, right? Including your Venomthrope just like around here-ish. And then your Gene Stealer and Hormigons like right here, right? You can probably deploy them like this, and then you can have them buff the front line, even if it doesn't move. Because you're most likely going second anyway, you have to think about if you go second, enemy will shoot at your Gene Stealers and Hormigons, but you have -1 to hit, so you have nothing to worry about, right? So there's that. But usually, you only take Venomthrope because you want to protect your backfield unit. Backfield unit that does not have access to Spore Cyst, like Carnifex. Carnifex get access to Spore Cyst. Every other monster creature does not get access to that, like Maleceptor. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Turnifax and Exocrane. These 2 units, it's toughness 8 unit, and they like to sit in the back. And if you have Venomthropes next to them, they can have -1 to hit, which is really beneficial. Because if you have like super tough unit, sitting in the back shooting their strength 10 weapon or strength 7 weapon, and they have -1 to hit buff on them, that's like really good. That is really good. And on top of that, alright, the Venom Throat, you can put them behind cover or behind line of sight blocker. Same thing goes with Hive Guard. These guys does not need line of sight in order to buff your unit, but the enemy certainly need the line of sight in order to shoot them, right? So if you put like 3 Venom Throat very, very close together, I guess that's why they have the tentacle arms, because GW doesn't want you to stick them all together. Because if you can, then they can form like a little super tiny circle that buffs 6 inches, right? As long as your Tyrant effects and exocrine is within 6 inches of this hiding Venom Throats, then they get the buff, and enemy cannot shoot at the Venom Throat because they can't see it, unless of course they can use mortar, which are as good as not shooting at this target at all whatsoever. So if you want to use Venom Throat, just keep them in Chronos, keep them in backfield, and just put it behind the line of sight cloth cover. Or you can take them as Kraken, not Chronos. You can take them as Kraken, and then they can be sitting with your Gene Stealers. Most likely Gene Stealers, because Hormagaun, who cares, man? It's like 5 point per model, who cares? Gene Stealers are much more worthy for protecting. You protect your Gene Stealers, right? And you know what? The fun part about this, you can even protect your Chameleonic Mutation Hive Tyrants with wings, right? You can, instead of deep striking your Hive Tyrants, what you can do is put your Hive Tyrant next to on the deployment zone. You don't actually have to deep strike it, which I forgot to mention in my HQ video, but I'll talk about that later. You don't actually have to deep strike your Hive Tyrant. You just put them next to your Gene Stealers and Hormagauns, which provides the naps. That's great, but that's not why you brought them there. The reason why you brought them here, because with Chameleonic Mutation, which is -1 to hit, and if you put it next to a Venom Throat, it's -2 to hit because it's cumulative. Unlike other Shouting Spore ability, which is not cumulative, Chameleonic Mutation and Shouting Spores are cumulative. You can work them together, so you have like a -2 to hit Hive Tyrant in the first turn. There's nothing gonna kill it, like nothing. I guarantee you, there's nothing is able to kill it. So there's that. If you want to take Venom Throat, Kraken, or Chronos, it's really up to you. Yeah. Finally, we have Yoramagard. Now, I was thinking about not mentioning this because this is gonna drag this video way too long, but whatever, I don't care. Venom Throat is critical, and I would even say essential and mandatory if you want to run a warrior list. If you want to run a warrior list, in addition to Yoramagard High Fleet rule, which gives them +1 to their armor if they're out in the open, they are assumed to be sitting in cover even if they're out in the open because you get +1 to cover. And if you bring them Venom Throat, which is -1 to hit, you will make warrior very tough to kill. Alright, each warrior is 20 point per model, which is really expensive, but if you give them extra buff, such as +1 to armor with Yoramagard High Fleet adaptation, or -1 to hit aura by Venom Throats, then the warrior becomes really, really tough, especially with 3 wounds and toughness of 4 and 3+ armor save, assuming they don't have ignore cover or whatever, not Impure Fist or whatever. But let's say if they're just regular shooty army, they have to deal with tons of warrior with the similar stat, and those warrior are going to walk and shoot no problem, with assistance of Tyranid Prime, which gives them +1 to ballistic skill. They will shoot as good as a Space Marine, and if you give them Warlord trait of Insidious Threat, which is a Yoramagard exclusive Warlord trait, it will make all your attack ignore cover. So just let that sink in a little bit. That's why I really want to run a warrior list for a long time, but the problem is still the same. They are a little bit expensive. They just need a little drop-on point, then that would be great. But why do I mention this right here in Venom Throat section is because if you have Venom Throats, you can accompany them with the warriors, and they can become a really scary force to deal with because all the -1 to hit. Even more important than the other fleets such as Kraken and Chronos. Even more important than that. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Elite, except we still have 2 more. God damn it. Oh god, this video is so fucking long. That's why I want to do the fast attack first. Anyways, Power Wars. Alright, Power Wars. This guy gets underrated way too much. Alright, I think the reason is because the model is not easily accessible because it's Risen Cast. And I fucking hate Risen Cast. I think everyone does. aside from the model availability, I think Pyrivore it's not very frequently used because it requires a very specific strategy to completely run them in the most efficient way. Guess what? I'm talking about Yoramagon again. Because if you're gonna use this unit with Kraken or Chronos, it's just going to... I was gonna say depress, but I guess I was saying disappoint, but I guess depress work as well. It's going to depress you. If you're trying to use anything other than Chronos, I'm sorry, anything other than Yoramagon, it's going to disappoint and depress you, because this model, it's a flamer model. It's able to have a 10-inch flamer, a heavy flamer, mind you. It's strength 5 AP minus 1. And so D6, just like any flamer profile. It's a flamer beast, so if you're just gonna walk them up the front, it's not gonna work. It's not going to work, okay? It's not going to work that way. But if you somehow manage to deep strike them, okay? Let's say you want to use Tyranid, which I highly recommend not to do that. Or you can use Yoramagon. Once again, you can use Ravener. I guess I can just skip the Ravener part because I keep bringing it up. You can bring the Ravener, the enemy below, the Yoramagon exclusive stratagem in conjunction of bring an infantry. And guess what? Pyrivore is also an infantry. So you can bring a squad of Pyrivores, which is 3 models. Yeah, I wish it's more, but it's only 3 models. 3 models per unit. You can bring a unit. You are gonna have 3d6 of a strength 5 AP1 flamer attack against anything that's in your face. And you can obviously spread them apart. Let's say you want to kill the squad of guardsmen, you want to kill that squad, you can spread shot apart, no problem, right? And it automatically hits since it's a flamer weapon. Now, since you deep strike with Ravener, you do not have Synapse creature, but that doesn't matter. Like I said, the flamer weapon automatically hits. So it doesn't matter if you have Synapse or not. And moreover, if the enemy trying to assault you, right? The Pyrivore shooting off the guardsmen is starting to be annoying. They attempt to assault you, to shut you down from shooting. Not only they are going to take the obvious flamer overwatch, they are also going to have a nasty surprise of finding every time they wound the model, they take mortal wound because of acid blood. And if you kill these models, the volatile ability is going to deal even more mortal wounds. So this is a very annoying unit to deal with. If I'm a guardsman player, if I play Imperial Guard and Knights, and I see 3 of these motherfuckers drop down next to my weakest flank, and then they start like flaming all my guardsmen, I'm gonna be super pissed because I'm not gonna divert my Knight's power to shoot at these motherfuckers. I'm just gonna let them do what they want. But if I do let them do what they want, they're gonna eventually flame out all my guardsmen. So I have to find a way to deal with these guys without diverting my main firepower away from, let's say, Cartifacts, Hive Tyrants, Mail Scepter. I'm really trying here. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to divert firepower away from all the important target to deal with your Pyrivores. Right? I'm not going to do that, but if you use Yoramagon, you can surprise your enemy. So that's the way you use Pyrivore. I have yet to find another way other than this to run Pyrivore successfully. I've seen people talking about just simply run them up as Kraken. Alright, because it's a assault weapon, you can still shoot after you advance. And also because the weapon automatically hits, so it doesn't matter if you have -1 to hit with assault weapon anyway. It doesn't matter. You can Kraken them to advance 3d6, pick the highest result, and then just shoot away. Some people say they have some success with that, which, you know, I have yet to try myself. So, you know what, if that works, let me know. Yeah, anyways, alright. Last but certainly the least, holy shit, I hate talking about this guy because it's gonna be me rambling a lot of shit. It's House Specs. I don't know how to start with this, alright? The problem I have with this unit is not because it does not have invulnerable save, or not because its attack is really funky, or not because Carnifex does its job better. It's because the war are designed so bizarre. The rules are so bizarre here. I don't know how to start with this. Okay, hear me out, guys. So this guy has a melee attack of strength 7. All right, if a strength 7 attack, AP -1 D3, which obviously are aiming towards 2 infantry characters, which usually have 1 or 2 wounds, right, and does not have that much of armor. So maybe strength 7 AP -1 is pretty good versus like maybe Guardsman, Space Marine, you know, those kind of stuff. That's great. But But every time you kill an infantry model with the Ravenous Maw, which this weapon I just described, you get a free Shoveling Claw attack, which is second attack profile, and it will. It's a strength of 14. It's strength times 2. The strength 7 times 2 is strength 14. AP minus 3 and D6 damage. It's a good anti-tank weapon, right? It's good. But it only triggers extra attack with this weapon if you kill an infantry model with the Ravenous Maw. It makes zero sense. I don't see how. Why would you need an anti-tank weapon to get a free shot at the infantry unit you just killed? It makes absolutely no sense. And also because this guy, it's too expensive. It really is very expensive. It's toughness 8, that's great. You know, it's 13 wounds, that's great. It's able to regenerate health every time he kills, that's great. It's all fantastic. But whatever the job this guy can do, Carnifex can do it better, right? It can do it better, no problem, and it's cheaper that way. It's cheaper to take Carnifex, and Carnifex get access to Spore Cyst, which is -1 to hit. This is super important for Carnifex, for them to survive as a melee beast. But power specs, I don't have invulnerable save, I don't have -1 to hit. Maybe Venom Throw over there can provide me some -1 to hit, but I'm not going to have -1 to hit myself because I'm a jackass. Yeah, that's right. Yep. That's pretty much it. I don't want to talk about power specs anymore because it's just going to be me blabbling shit. So that's pretty much it for the elite of the Tyranid. It's been pretty long because all these units are worth to talk about in detail. And if I miss anything, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, just point out whatever I said wrong. And I hope you guys have a good day. And I'll see you guys in the next video where we talk about fast attack units. Goodbye!